Hello, my name is Chuck Wolf. Over the years, I've worked in many different roles, including leading my own leadership consulting company since 1994. I've worked for and with some of the best companies and universities in the world, and have had the opportunity to work with government officials, military organizations, and public and private schools. I'm a leading expert and pioneer in emotional intelligence. Since 2009, I've been a volunteer hosting a radio show I created called The Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel. I really enjoy making a difference in people's lives. The show is on award-winning community radio station, WPKN in Bridgeport, Connecticut. In recent years, Simsbury Community Television has been sharing my shows on their station and on YouTube. My sincere hope is that everyone who watches regularly will learn how to use the Emotion Roadmap in their own lives by listening to people who call in to get help with challenges at work, home, and in communities. To learn more, go to www.emotionroadmap.com. If you have a comment or question, email me at cjwolf@cjwolf.com. Thank you and enjoy the show. And this is Chuck Wolf, and you're listening to WPKN with the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Again, I'm on the first and second Wednesdays of each month from 12 noon to 1 p.m. as part of WPKN's community strip. And everyone that's listening, I view you as part of this community. And I hope you're a regular listener and you've gotten to listen to the show sometime over the 13 years I've been broadcasting. And if you're new to the show, I'll explain the show in a minute just to tell you a little bit about what the show's about. This is a chance for people to call in and ask questions about challenging situations that they face in life. And I'll talk a bit about that in a moment. I do want to mention that I always like to have a topic of some kind to talk about when I come on the air, to encourage people to think about not just the things that are present that are driving them a little nuts that I can help with, but also just some general things that seem to impact lots of people. So we've had Ramadan this in April. We have Easter coming up, and we have Passover coming up. And I know sometimes it's challenging to think about families getting together, and some of the experiences people have with their families isn't the fantasy of, oh my God, it's so great to have family together again. Sometimes there's some people in your family that it's just kind of hard to get along with. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about just making sure you get along well with people. And it's something I want to read to you from a group called Braver Angels that, again, if you're a regular listener to the show, you know that I've talked about this group before. Again, I'm Chuck Wolf. This is the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. And it's on the first and second Wednesdays of each month from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Everybody that's a regular listener, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and also for those of you who have called in the past. And if you want to call again, I'll give you the number. In case somebody's been waiting to talk to me, sometimes that happens, and want to talk to me at the very beginning of the show, that's fine, because that's why I'm here. The number is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. I'll give a moment just in case anybody was waiting to call. I'll give you a second to do that. 203-336-9756. Okay, so I guess there's nobody that's been waiting to just call me the instant I got on the air today. So maybe you'll feel like calling a little later. That's fine. What the show is about, for those of you that are new to the show, is that the show is designed to help people to deal with uncertainty, doubt, fear, sometimes to deal with depression and anxiety. Sometimes it's something that's going on inside of you that has to do with a certain situation that you're having a difficult time coping with. And what I've done with the show is to use a process that I created that's actually been being used around the world called the Emotion Roadmap. And the concept is this idea that when people are feeling strong feelings, often those feelings are informative. They're almost always informative in terms of letting you know how your body is responding to certain situations or events or thoughts that you're having. but also that those emotions at times can be extremely helpful. So if you're in a situation where somehow you're being attacked by someone, all that emotional energy that goes to adrenaline that causes you to fight back with whatever tools you have at your disposal and whatever capabilities you have, that's a good use of an emotion that's helping you to protect yourself. But sometimes that same anger flares up in the workplace and there's really nothing you can do that's appropriate that isn't going to get you into far worse trouble. And what do you do with the anger then? So my point about sharing a quick story like that is to let you know that sometimes while our emotions are informative, like anger at work could be just as important as anger in the street where somebody attacks you that you don't know that may want to just rob you or something else horrible. The idea of emotions are informative is always true, but the fact that they're always helpful isn't necessarily true. So the fact that I might get really angry at work, how do I channel that when I can't hit out at the person that might be making me angry? I can't run away from the person that might be making me angry. I mean, how do you do that? What do you do with your emotion? So the concept of an emotion roadmap is to help you understand when an emotion that you're feeling is actually perhaps even an obstacle to what you're trying to get done, and it's in your way and not helpful. Well, it's still informative and you can learn from it, you may want to change it. And that's the idea of a roadmap. If you're in a particular place on the planet somewhere and you want to get to another place, how do you do it? If you have a feeling like anger that isn't helpful in your current situation, what do you do with that feeling? Can you change it to something else that's more helpful, that's more appropriate, that's going to help you to get done what you need to get done? So sometimes feelings like anger and depression and guilt and embarrassment, I mean, they're all appropriate emotions at times, but it doesn't mean that they're helpful. Now, embarrassment or shame may cause you to behave better going forward. So again, you can learn from an emotion that you have that may not be helpful to you in the moment. But how do you change emotions when you need to change emotions, when it's be better if you could change emotions for yourself and for others? How do you do that? I think that's a question that's been around with all of us for a very long time. And I know that it's a struggle sometimes to get your own emotions under control. And so this show is about people calling in and getting help with work situations. Sometimes you have a relationship issue with somebody at work. Sometimes it's someone you work for. Sometimes it's someone that's a peer of yours, a team member on the same team. Other times it's a member of your team. If you're a leader or manager of some type, you may have people that report to you that you have having some relationship issues with. You've heard me talk, if you've listened to the show before, about leadership a lot. I like talking about leadership because if I can impact a leader who listens to this show, and that leader is a pretty high senior person in his or her or their organization, if I can impact that leader in a very positive way, then think about the ripple effect that has throughout the organization, depending on how many levels and how many people that leader manages. So the show is designed to be helpful. It's designed to take the information that I've spent, since the late 1990s learning about and creating and applying, learning from my experiences, learning from research from others, as well as my own, about how do you use emotional intelligence to make life better? How do I do that for people? What does it take to make your life better? The aim of the show, the Emotion Roadmap, is to help you take that wheel and control how you feel. And our ability to do that is far greater than most people realize. So that's what the show's about. Now, one of the things that, again, I wanted to talk about, and by the way, sometimes people don't, they happen to be tuning in, they like the show, they like to listen to me, and they may not have something that's problematic for them that they want to call about. They may not have something either at work or at home. Perhaps sometimes people have issues with aging parents, with siblings have issues with their brothers and sisters. Sometimes parents have issues with their children. Sometimes parents or couples or partners have issues with themselves. And sometimes it's just something internal to someone that they're struggling with. We don't really have a lot of education around how to handle our emotions when we're growing up. Some of us may, because we had parents who were really good at dealing with their own emotional stuff, and they taught us about that, and we talked about it at home. Other homes were a place where emotions were off limits. You really never talked about them. You dealt with them as you had to deal with them. Whatever you were feeling, you pushed past to get done, whatever you needed to get done. Feelings were just things that were part of life that you just had to manage. They weren't necessarily something that was useful. Other people understand that feelings are incredibly useful. Great leaders often find that the ability to create motivation, the feeling of feeling motivated, engaged, included, welcomed, important, all that is enormously critical to being successful in any kind of organization endeavor. Pulling all those emotions, those positive emotions together, helping to create that in the workplace. Some leaders are intuitive about it and learn more to make them even better. I was once, we got a caller. Okay, just a second. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please?
Hi, Chuck. My name is Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. How you doing?
Good.
What can I do for you today?
Yes. I had a question. We're having some issues with my wife's mom, she's very nice, okay, but she doesn't like to pay her bills, okay, and of course.
Did you say your name's Kevin? Hello? Did I lose you? Huh. Hello?
Hello? Hey, sorry, Chuck.
Okay.
I lost you. I was going to shut the radio off, but I hit the button on the phone instead.
Okay. You got me back. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyways, the problem, we've been running in this situation where a lot of items is basically about money. Everything's in my wife's name, and everything's in my wife's name, and my mother-in-law refuses to pay the bills. So of course the collectors start calling our house, and this has been going on for years now, and it's just becoming it's hard to live your life every month when there's a bill collector sending you letters or an attorney.
Wow. Okay. So, again, you've had years, you said you've been dealing with this, so you must have tried all kinds of things to make this better. And just to be clear, one of the things that I think about when I'm trying to help people around issues that they raise is to first determine who are all the key people involved. And so it seems like you're key. Your wife is key. She's probably the focal point for what needs to happen. And your mother-in-law. And those are the three people. Anybody else involved, or is that pretty much it?
Not really.
Okay.
No, not really.
Okay, so I guess without going through a litany of things, can you give me a couple of things that you've already tried to do that didn't work, and then what you might be thinking about doing to work?
Trying to automatically take the monies out of the account to pay, because the company doesn't do it. Taking money out of the automatic payment,
right,
for like the condo association fees, and that type of stuff.
So is that
taxes?
So
taxes
when you try to set up automatic payment, you can do that with credit cards or even banks, I guess. So you can
with a bank, but this particular company doesn't really do that. It's just an ongoing thing, and and for one, I mean, obviously I live with my wife, and there's always drama about it.
So it
seems to come around every 2 or 3 months, where it just, it takes a little bit for the collections to start sending us letters. So
Now, let me
So
just.
anyways, we're looking for some input from you.
Thank you. Are you both there? Are you both?
Yes.
I heard you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it seems like there's a couple things that make some sense to me. One is, it's if your wife is there and you're talking for her, I guess on this. The question is, what are you willing to do, right? What are you willing to do to make this work? Because it seems like you could possibly take some steps if you're going to be responsible for getting the bills paid to make sure that the bills get paid through some kind of automatic credit card deduction there's different ways to set that up. I'm not an expert on that. But
he's just not interested in paying them.
Well, more of the emotional stuff that's going along.
Right. And there's been name calling and you're trying to help people and you're getting called names. So.
All right. So are you at the point where you need power of attorney and you need to be able to just exercise in your mother's name so you can take her money and pay these things? I mean, is that part? Well, I'm not sure what your plan is and how badly off your mother, your mom is, and whether or not she's capable of understanding the pain and frustration it's causing you. My guess is you've talked with her ad nauseum about it, and nothing's changing, and so now you're forced to face some legal questions about what's possible. Is that kind of where you are?
Yeah.
Well, cognitively, she's okay.
Cognitively, she's fine, but she's not.
It's about her. Life has always been about her.
Yeah. So if she doesn't pay her bills and you don't get involved, what happens?
They will send collections to our address and put a lien on our house. And we have kids and we have a family we're trying to raise too. I'm curious, why does this all flow to you folks? Why isn't it stay with her? Because my wife was nice enough, because she had the credit, to sign her name on the dotted line at the time.
And is there any way to reverse that?
No, because she has no credit. So you can't take a mortgage out at 80 years old either.
So my guess
is we're not there to help her, but
no, I understand.
I understand. Advantage of either.
Yeah, no, I get it. So have you must have, I assume, talked to legal people about this and what's possible?
Not yet.
Well, it's on us.
Right.
But I don't. What I'm trying to understand is your mom has. How do things get paid? Does she have some kind of revenue stream that she pays these things, or does it come through you to be paid?
What do you mean revenue?
Well, how does she pay for? How does she pay for when she does pay her bills eventually?
Social Security, pension, that kind of stuff.
Social Security, pension.
So she has enough money to pay the bills.
Yes and no.
Yeah, at the time when the bill's $250 and it goes up to $800 because it's not paid with interest, and then it goes to collections through a lawyer, just gets to be.
And it depends on what you deem more important.
And so, why haven't you gone to legal help? Let me ask that question.
That may be happening
because it's our bill; it's not her bill.
No, I understand. I understand that you're paying for this now, but when you say it's your bill, you're saying if it's your bill, why don't you just pay it then?
It's under my name.
So that's what you mean by it's your bill. It's not really your bill. It's just under your name. That's what I'm trying to get at, right?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you haven't
legally I have nothing.
You haven't sought out a lawyer to see if you can get your name off this.
No, because you can't unless you buys the place.
Wait. And you know this how? I mean, because did somebody?
She can't afford it. She can't afford to buy it, or take out a loan.
Yeah, but I mean, if you've been dealing with this for years, I'm trying to understand why wouldn't you try to take some kind of legal recourse? I realize you're saying that it's impossible for her to pay it, but it's not really impossible for her to pay it.
I think that's going to be the next step. That's all. We're just
so here my question for you is this: if you have been dealing with this for a long time, there's a reluctance on your part to want to abandon your mom, which makes sense.
Yeah, right.
And the other part is I don't want to get lawyers involved. I want to figure this out with my mom.
Right.
I mean, that's why.
Exactly.
So that's what I assume is holding you back emotionally. I guess I think you want to exhaust everything that you possibly can. And that's why I said, since you've been dealing with this for years, my guess is you have exhausted pretty much everything you can think of.
Yes.
Right?
How do you go with the emotional part?
Well,
once you get family and money.
Absolutely. It's really hard. So let me talk about the emotional part. So the emotional part is holding you back from going and doing something that is pretty drastic, that might cause your mother some real problems, and you don't want to go down that route. But it gets her to do what she should do legitimately. You haven't been able to hold her accountable. You just keep dealing with this stuff, and it keeps adding up and getting worse and worse. So you'll end up paying a ton of money extra for, late payments and penalties, right? That's happening.
Yes. Exactly.
So it seems to me, instead of doing that, you want to set something up that automatic payment is being drawn from her accounts, and that you can do that. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that,
that's why I'm asking about the emotional part.
Yeah. So my thought is, what if you're feeling guilty about thinking about taking your mom, to court somehow? What you also want to understand the other feelings that are inside of you that are fighting with that cause you to call me, which is saying you feel like you need some kind of professional support for making a move that's really uncomfortable for you. That's what it sounds like to me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so let me suggest this to you. I think for you to have a decent and a loving and a wonderful relationship with whatever years your mom's got left, I think it's the right thing to do to find a way to hold her accountable, because it's going to be very painful for a short time, and then it's just going to be on automatic once it's done.
Sounds good.
Does that help to think about it differently?
Yeah.
Because I think while you're trying to do the right thing in your own minds, it's making you feel guilty about not finding some way to force this. It's costing you and them and your mom a lot of extra money. And it's also causing a frustration in your relationship with her. And so the quality of what you're fighting for, it's kind of working against itself.
Right.
So the way to clean it up is to take one hard hit. Doing something to try and make this right, and then done with it.
Yeah.
So you can enjoy the rest of the time. Does that help?
That sounds, right. We want to enjoy each other.
And know that it's going to be really painful, but know that it's the right thing to do, because it's been painful for years for you folks.
Right. It's just too much grief and drama seems like every month, and phone tag and not answering the phone and hanging up and name calling. I mean,
and expect your mom to be really upset with you folks for doing this for a while, and then at some point, your hope is that she realizes it's the only thing that you could have done to make whatever time you got left together valuable and meaningful and enjoyable.
Right.
Okay, and I'd explain it to her that way, by the way. I just say, this is going to hurt for a bit, but I can't. This isn't working the way we've been doing this, so we're taking another step, and maybe set it up before you do it, just to say this is where we're going with it. This is what's going to happen, and maybe she says, okay, well, screw it, let's just do it without the lawyer. I don't know, No,
that's a great idea. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
All right, guys.
Thanks a lot, Chuck. And always enjoy your show.
By the way, thanks for saying that. If you get a chance on the website on pkn.org, you can, there's a survey. Let people know you like the show. That's always a good thing.
Oh, okay.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Chuck.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye. Well, thanks, folks. That's kind of the way the show works. Is try to understand what your situation is, what the emotions are that's involved, and figure out a plan to deal differently with emotions than maybe you have been, so that you come away with an option that really works better than what you might have had. Okay, well, I'm glad we got a call like that. Anybody else want to call? You're welcome to call 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. Okay, one of the things I wanted to talk about today is the idea that we have holidays. Some of them are happening right now. Ramadan, Passover is coming up. Easter is coming up. So as you think about holidays coming up, being with family, being in some challenging relationships. Oh, we get another caller. Okay. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please?
Yes, my name's Chris.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for the call.
All right.
How can I help you?
Yes, I've been going through a lot of stuff right here. I moved to Connecticut about a dozen years ago to be with an important person in my life, my uncle. And unfortunately, he went to India and he's almost lost his liver and died in my hands, and his wife and everything else. And I've been working for free for years to help him come out of a hole. I've seen millions come and go in my lifetime. And the problem is having the blessing of this man to be alive today. And I helped start another business and everything like that. He has children, stepchildren, and people that actually put demands upon him to do more and more and more. And I have to pick up the slack, and I'm taking care of that. And what's happening is I see abuse going on. I was abused terribly in my childhood too. So I'm seeing this constant abuse going on and a very narcissistic pattern of people living. I'm going to therapy now, but this anger is something that I had to overcome very early as a child, and it's overcome me. I'm in like a whirlpool. It's giving me headaches. It's the constant repetitive thoughts of how cruel these people are to this man. I love him to death. He knows what's going on. He's able to accept certain things, this, that, and the other thing, but you are who you hang out with, and he abuses me in certain ways. So, I mean, I've become a wash, and I've done great things in my life, and I try to do great things for this family, but they don't even want to acknowledge the time of day. Stay home, smoke pot, one was smoking meth, and these, and just stay home, sit in the chair for 15 years, and this man is dynamic to the hilt. He's 76 years old. We just came back from Virginia and put a race car together, a sports car called America, yada, 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 yada. So what's happening is I'm living in a household with these people, and I've gone off the deep end. I can't handle it. I want to escape. I've actually walked out of the house years ago. It's just the attitude is beyond me, and I don't know what to do next.
Well, you said you're going to therapy, so I'm always careful about, I don't want to contradict any thoughts that your therapist has, right?
No. He's been very helpful. Elderly man, about 80s and stuff like this. Very helpful.
Well, what I'm wondering is, so you already are talking to somebody about what to do different, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, are you feeling like you're not getting enough support from him, or different ideas, or whatever he's telling you isn't working anymore? Is that why you called?
I'm just overwhelmed. Nothing is penetrating. This anger is just overwhelmed me, and that's not me at all.
So what does your therapist say to you about this? Because you must have talked.
I have to ignore the other people in this life, but every word is syllable coming out of them, even the smell of the bloodline. It's just phenomenal. The abuse they like to throw around and overpower people.
Okay, so let me just back up on a couple of things, because I wasn't sure. You said you moved to this state because of an uncle.
I did. I'm from New York, and I went through huge things in New York too. But it's all right.
Okay,
it's all good.
So your uncle then went to India.
Yeah, he went to India and got a parasite, and his wife got a parasite. The medications they gave him destroyed his liver, and they were supposed to be in contact with him daily. I was doing wellness calls to him, and he was dead in 3 days. So practically dead in 3 days. He had a liver transplant.
So he died.
No, he was almost dead.
Almost
Yale
dead. So
University.
He is the man that's back and that you just built the race car with. That's what I didn't make the connection with. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So now you love this guy. You love being around him. He's, though, in a situation where there's a lot of people living in this house that somehow are undermining what you think is the good work that you're trying to do.
Exactly.
And so, and your therapist is saying you got to ignore the people, and you're not finding that's working.
Yes, unfortunately, it's not. I mean, I was so tempted to leave. I tried to voice the outrage I have, but it just doesn't. People just don't want to take the initiative to do things for others. That's why it's refreshing to hear somebody help. I've always been a caregiver all my life.
So I can offer you a thought about something that you might do that would be helpful to you. But the first way, I always want to look at that from the standpoint of, you've been here in this situation for how long?
This is 5 years now.
5 years. So you've been dealing with this for a long time.
Yes.
So you've tried things over different times that maybe work for a while but don't work anymore.
Yeah, I try the best I can. I tried the best I can, but I run into this really kind of strange personality sort of deal, and it's one-way street, and nothing matters, or no concerns about paying the bills. Their children are 35, 40 years old, 50 years old.
Yeah.
I had to shake these kids up just to acknowledge life exists.
So I'm not sure why you stay in this.
I know that.
Right?
I know that. I can make 15 times the amount of money that I'm doing now. I've been running this business so they could have a home that they abused all the money without any cares. And so it's just the thing about me and my uncle. We bonded. I bonded with him when I was 5 years old. We lived in the same home, raised by the same people. And I love the man to death. I'll open a vein for him. It gets
right,
me.
so you're not willing to walk away from him, and you
No,
have to.
I'm not going to let that happen too easy.
Okay, so then the other question is, how do you stay in the house and not be overwhelmed by the anger you're feeling towards these other people, right?
Exactly.
So that's the key thing you want to work on. Okay, so let's talk about that. So the things that trigger you, are they the sort of the same things that you see pretty regularly? I'm assuming that there are certain things that just set you off. It's the second you walk in the house or something that somebody says. Right?
It's the narcissistic attitude. Okay. And I'm not caring about anybody but themselves, and it's a very, very small world they live in.
So you know, as soon as they demonstrate a behavior of some kind that just looks to you like they don't give a crap about anybody else but themselves, and you just get angry with that. So here's the trick, if you want, Chris, if you want to try something different. If you know you're going to be triggered by certain things that are what I call themes. You know, you're saying in this particular case, the theme is narcissism. They just on and on, just keep doing things that are just about themselves, and they don't seem to care a whit about anybody else. And as soon as you see that, you start to get, your blood pressure rises. You start to get flushed, and anger just kind of wants to spill out of you, and it's making it really hard for you to stay in the house. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So then the thing that happens when they start to do the narcissistic behaviors is there something else that you can say to yourself that puts you in a different pathway. In other words, the idea of an emotion roadmap is, I know just from listening to you for a couple of minutes that there's going to be the second you get off this phone call and you're in that house, you're going to see something within half an hour that's going to trigger you again. And if something is coming and you know you're going to be triggered, then you got two choices. One is whatever it is that's causing you to feel, to see if you can actually change the feelings. In other words, I don't care about them. If they're going to be who they are, I'm not going to change them. I haven't been able to change them. I'm going to just stay here as long as my uncle's alive, and I'm just going to push that aside. That's what your therapist is trying to get you to do, right?
Yeah.
And so instead of just saying that to yourself, and saying, hey, I want to do that, but being unsuccessful at it, is you want to see if that feeling comes up. I don't know that you can change your feelings about this. I don't think you probably can. But what you can do is change what you say about those feelings. What we control, the stuff that we control, Chris, isn't anybody else's behavior, although we can influence it. And you might be able to influence it, but I think that's a long shot. I think they're going to be who they are, and you're not going to change that. You've been there 5 years, nothing's really changed. So I'm thinking the only thing that can change here that really does make a difference for you is what you say to yourself about when this stuff shows up again, because you know it's coming. You know it's coming. Okay. And so is there some kind of re-scripting of what it is you're saying to yourself when this shows up so that it takes you down a path that says, this is who they are. I know that's what they're going to do. They're going to keep doing that, but I'm not going to let them make me nuts anymore. I'm not going to give that power to those guys anymore because I'm sick of them and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of me responding the way I've been responding. I want to respond differently. I'm not going to let that bother me. That my uncle wants to live with these guys. He doesn't want to hold them accountable. I'm going to support my uncle no matter what because he supported me when I was a kid, and I'm just going to be here and not let this stuff hit me the same way it's hit me over the past.
Okay, that sounds like a wonderful idea. I've been through a lot of this stuff in my lifetime. This is and it controlled my childhood. Very rough time, and did magnificent things. And this is a magnificent person. Should be treated correctly, and me too. And I don't want to see people take advantage and try to use some sort of crazy ploy to get whatever they want.
Well,
So I'm not gonna let that happen to me. I just ignore it.
Well, it's not so much that you ignore it. You recognize it's there, that it's coming. That's who these people are. But what you also recognize is that the way I've responded in the past just makes me nuts. I allow them to make me angry. I don't want to allow them to influence me at all.
Okay.
Because you control how you respond to this stuff, whether you believe it or not. But what I want to suggest to you, Chris, is the first few times you try this, it's going to work a little bit because you decided, hey, this is a pretty good idea. I'm going to try it, and then you're going to slip back, and it's going to overwhelm you again, and you're going to forget that we even talked, you and I. So the thing is,
no, I won't do that. I won't do that.
What I want to suggest is that what you say to yourself the first time might not be enough. It may not work perfectly, but you want to keep thinking of it as a script, as kind of a mantra that each time you start to feel this anger because of the narcissism that's nonstop in this house with these people, you're going to see it all the time. And yet you want to remind yourself, I don't know if this works for you, but you want to remind yourself, look, I'm here for my uncle, not for them. He wants to enable them and whatever. That's his deal. I'm not going to question him or criticize him. I'm just going to do whatever I can as long as I can because I love the guy.
Okay.
So you keep trying until you get something that works for you.
I'm going to keep trying. I always do. And I've been able to wrap my head around doing what's correct for myself. This is overwhelming because it's just an onslaught. It's huge onslaught, and a person sort of becomes who you hang out with. It goes so deep. I've had the therapists at the Yale University try to get involved, try to get them help. I bang my head against the wall to do something right, and unfortunately, you can't change people, or they don't care. They're to change their lives. I'm willing to change my life at any time. I'm willing to work better for a better cause, like helping and things. I go through the world with my heart, and when you get abused like that, even emotionally, which has been done 10 times folded over to me, I come out of it, and I'm just going to walk the line and show you what I'm about. I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. I wanted to get out of this situation a long time ago. I just didn't want to see this man get beat down again.
All right. So, I mean, again, you've had some successes dealing with the fact that you were abused, and yet you've been able to accomplish great things in your life. You've been pretty clear about that. You're still able to accomplish many things in your life, and this is a new challenge for you and something else that I believe you can accomplish, and it'll set a much better tone for you. It's not going to change the stuff that upsets you. It's just how you react to it is going to be different and healthier for you. And being healthier for you, you can then be more supportive of your uncle.
Okay. I'm trying. I'm doing a lot of that. I don't know. I'm doing everything I can possibly, and I really appreciate the help.
So just think about, it's coming. When it comes, write it down. Right? Play around with what do I want to say to myself when this stuff shows up? What do I want to say to myself that's going to be different and take me down a different path? So I calmly accept that these guys are idiots. They're doing some really stupid stuff. They just care about themselves. And that's not my agenda. My agenda is my uncle. And if they impact my uncle, I'll get mad at them until I can figure out how not to have it impact my uncle so much. But I'm not going to let them make me angry all the time. I don't want to empower them that way. I don't want to give them that's giving them all the power over you. And why would you do that?
No, I know.
Okay.
You're right. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't get your name, sir. I'm driving a truck.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Chuck Wolf, and you're listening to the Emotion Roadmap. You get a chance, and I'm telling everybody, go on to pkn.org and say you like the show. The show's the Emotion Roadmap. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you, Chuck. Have a great day.
Bye, Chris. Okay. All right. Well, those two good calls. So let me Let me just share with you. I'm going to actually, because I do want to read this to you, and this is something I've talked about. How do you get along with other people? And sometimes people are polarized. Sometimes you've got something going on at the holiday that you're worried about some of the people that may have different beliefs than you. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we could be challenging each other about at holiday dinners and so forth, right? I mean, there's all the politics about Democrat, Republican, conservative, progressive, whatever you might be thinking about politics. Then there's the whole question about a woman's rights, an unborn baby's rights. I mean, we could argue about that nonstop. We can argue about we can argue about sports teams. There's lots of things that we can argue. We can argue about critical race theory. We can argue about pronouns and what we call each other. I mean, there's so many things that are difficult, challenging things to talk about, right? So I want to read this to you because I think this is such a nice story. And if you want to learn techniques for helping you understand somebody that you love and you think is smart too, but who really believes some very different things than you do, how does that happen? Well, this one group called Braver Angels is really dedicated to having people increase their ability to be civil with one another and be respectful of different opinions. And I just want this, a person passed away, and this was a tribute from somebody that knew them. And I want to share this with you. On April 3rd, Braver Angels and the world lost one of our best leaders. When we lost David Iwinski, a thinker, a bridge builder, and a believer in America, I and many members of our community also lost a beloved friend. David passed away aged from complications of cancer and an injury-induced infection. He will be long remembered and deeply missed. I remember the first time I encountered D-Wink, as he was affectionately known within the debate team, at a debate on the topic, Resolved, Re-elect Trump. He was big, forceful, articulate, and totally unafraid of giving offense. I'm tired of people saying they like Trump's policies, but not the man. I like Trump's style, he declared. Who is this guy, I thought to myself. But I had to admit he also seemed somehow a lot like me. And I am grateful to Braver Angels and the debate program for giving me the chance to see that. Our differences went deep. I am mixed race from an immigrant family and grew up in multi-ethnic urban Houston. He was white, 20 years my senior, and from rural southwest Pennsylvania. I protested in the street against gun violence. He was a Second Amendment enthusiast who loved to show off the 2 pistols he kept on his desk. He believed, genuinely and persistently, that the 2020 election was literally stolen. Well, I argued that even debating that question gave credence to a dangerous lie. Yet we worked together, and well, on the Braver Angels debate team. We weren't the kind to just listen and empathize. We wanted to have it out, to make the case, to really argue for what we believe. Thanks to Madam Chair, Managing Director of Debate and Public Discourse, April Cornfield, and the culture of debate she created, our arguments led not to antagonism or alienation, but to deeper understanding and friendship. David's speeches got me fired up and made me want to debate him. He helped us all go beyond civility to genuine engagement with disagreement. I want to read that part again. He helped us all go beyond civility to genuine engagement and disagreement. I love to have conversations with people I disagree with when it's a real conversation and not just people speaking talking points to one another. Like a rival boxer, he pushed me to be my best, to defend my positions as passionately and intelligently as he defended his. A happy gladiator, David put himself on the line and invited you to do the same. 10 blues versus me. Blues are liberals or progressives or Democrats. Reds are Republicans, conservatives, far right people. He would say, 10 blues versus me? I like them odds, he would say. Dueling publicly with D-Wink was easily the most fun I ever had at Braver Angels. David was also an outstanding leader of the debate executive team, a workhorse and a thinker. Politically, we disagreed, but in building the program, he was my ally. We both liked efficient meetings and controversial debate topics. We worked our butts off together to recruit great speakers. We agreed that we had to recruit more Trump Reds and more people of color blues to fulfill our mission. Our commonalities didn't end there. We both valued honor, tradition, and heritage. We both came from large clans of families and treated friends like family. Like mine, David's family straddled two worlds. His father was a long-haul trucker, while his mother became one of the first female nuclear scientists in the country. If you knew David, you could see both these sides of him. He was a lawyer and an intellectual. He also knew how to operate a backhoe and lived on a farm. Curious, generous, and funny, David defied so many stereotypes we blues have about Reds. I once mentioned to him my love of C.S. Lewis's The Abolition of Man. A week later, David had read the entire book and written me a long and thoughtful email about it. In our first conversation, he invited me to come stay at his family farm with him and his nearly 100 cousins, aunts, and uncles. Deeply compassionate, he rescued and raised 7 standard poodles. Ask him his favorite place in the world, and he would say, UD, India. He lived in China and married a woman of a different race. He built businesses abroad that provided opportunity and empowerment for women and the disabled, arguing self-effacingly that it was just smart business to do so. You simply could not put David in the mainstream media's Trump supporter box. He was a good man, a smart man, and just a terrible lot of fun. David and I had a famous friendship within the organization, the kind that Braver Angels so often produces. He was a passionate Red, a vocal, unapologetic Trump supporter. I am a blue, a Democrat, and a Trump protester. We were political antagonists. But of all the relationships that I formed through Braver Angels, my friendship with David was uniquely meaningful. He embodied the best of Braver Angels for me. It was an honor to have known him. I'll miss you, David. It won't be the same without you. And this was by Silas Kulkarni, former chief of staff of the Braver Angels debate and public discourse team. And what I thought was so lovely was that Braver Angels sent this out to everybody that was a member. I'm a member of the group, and that's why I got it. And I wanted to read it to you because to me it says what's possible even when we disagree on very, very critical, fundamental values or beliefs that we might have. There's so much more potentially that we share that goes undiscovered when we just focus on where we disagree. Braver Angels is founded by a person who is a marital relationships counselor, a therapist. And they include a lot of principles about how do you help people to understand how you're seeing them, how you think they see you. And then they bring you together to discuss stereotypes that you might have of each other and to break those stereotypes down. Because I find that there's certain things that are just don't allow people to even think. They just are such strong emotional reactions to them that they kind of shut down and aren't open. Braver Angels allows people to be focused on the particular kinds of things that are really challenging to address. There's so many of them that are out there that if you're on one side of the aisle, you tend to support, and if you're on the other side of the aisle, you just absolutely hate some of those things, and vice versa, right? On the other side of the aisle, there's some things you tend to support that other people just can't abide. So we have that, but at the same time, a democracy depends on everybody's best ideas, and disagreement actually leads to better possibilities and probabilities that if we are willing to share what's really in our hearts and in our heads, and we do our homework, so we're not just, it isn't just opinion-based information that we share, but we actually have decided that we found some truthful articles, and it's not easy to do that necessarily today, but you want to try to have a fact-based discussion and to listen and listen hard. When we're talking and we're selling our ideas and our beliefs and our values to someone else, we're selling, we're not learning. But when we share what we have to say, and we understand the other person really listened and has heard us effectively, understands our points of view, and yet disagrees, and it shares what they believe and what they value and what's important to them, and they are being genuine and authentic, And I'm sitting here listening and trying to learn why somebody might think and feel differently about this. And so as we get together over Easter, over Passover, and the Muslim holidays, you just want to know that when you get together with your family, that part of what you're capable of controlling is your reaction to someone who comes in and says something that you're not going to like. It's very different than what you believe. It could be another one is about the vaccination, about whether you get the 4th booster shot, about whether you wear a mask, about whether you get locked down. I mean, there's, so many things that we feel very differently about within our families, and sometimes cause us to feel like it wasn't fun to be together. And, in my own families, I have people that disagree strongly with some of the things that I believe. I still love them. And what I want to focus on is not our disagreements. I'd like to know why you think and feel the way you do, but I'd also like you to listen to me and not judge me for my different views of those same things. So I encourage everybody, if you've got family coming up, to just try your best not to get triggered, and know that you're likely to be triggered by something with people that come in that are part of your family that have strong opinions about things. Know that you're likely to be triggered, and hold off from being triggered, because sometimes it pushes you to places where things get said that really shouldn't be said, and they get forgiven over time maybe, but it takes a long time, and you just don't want to go there. So be loving, be supportive, and listen. Listen to learn why somebody might think differently than you. One of the scary things about therapy I was taught many, many years ago was what Carl Rogers said. Carl Rogers was a very famous psychologist that was known for reflection. And reflection, if you think about the word, it's kind of reflecting back what another person or what you see in yourself. You look in the water and you look at your image, and you try to understand, who am I? What do I see when I look at me? What do I see when I look at others? What do I really understand about people? Well, what Rogers said and what he emphasized in doing therapy was, we've all heard stand in someone else's shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes and you'll get a sense of what my life's about. But what does that really mean? What Rogers said it meant was that you really hear and you understand, and you kind of look through the person's eyes that you're talking to and see what they're saying. He said one of the scariest things about therapy, he said, was that when I see what someone else is seeing and it's different than what I believed initially, but I see it through their eyes, one scary possibility is I change what I believe. That what they see makes more sense to me than what I've been seeing. And so part of the reason we don't empathize and we don't stop and really listen hard and allow ourselves to see through somebody else's eyes is we don't want to be part of that group that feels differently about these issues. We like where we are, so we don't want to be influenced by anything that might change what we think or feel. Now, that's not necessarily a conscious position, but it does happen a lot. It does happen a lot. So I want to point out to you that, hey, don't be afraid of changing what you believe or what you think is true. Allow yourself to be open to new information, new facts. That's how we grow and we learn. And even when you don't agree, I mean, what I like so much in that statement that I read to you was that it doesn't necessarily have to be just civil. Let me see if I can find that. I thought that was, civil engagement around disagreement is what he said anyway. He wanted you to engage in a civil manner, a respectful manner. This man that passed away, his name was again D. Wink, I remember. It was David Iwinski. And, his belief was that we want to engage, but we want to engage to understand and to disagree. That's fine. And let's see if we can make the case and get other people to agree with us. So I thought that's worth sharing with you. I encourage you all to have wonderful holidays coming up. I'll be back on the 1st and 2nd Wednesdays of April. And I look forward to talking to you then. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks. I want to encourage you to think about if what you're feeling about anything, just like the people that call today, isn't working the way that you want it to work, walk yourself through these steps. Okay, what am I feeling? What would be ideal for me to feel given the situation I'm in? What would be ideal to feel? How do I create the ideal feelings? How do I change from what I am feeling to what I want to feel? So the last person we talked to in Chris's case, how do we change from the anger that gets generated from these narcissistic people living in this house with my uncle? The anger that gets generated isn't helpful to me. It's not ideal. It's not what I want to feel, because it causes me all kinds of frustration and anger that it becomes disruptive and non-productive. And it just, I'm also physically reacting to this stuff. It sounded like. And so how do you change that? You start thinking about it differently. You think about, why am I allowing these people to make me feel this way? I know when I walk in the door, they're going to do something that's going to trigger me feeling the way I've been feeling. I just want the response, my response, the one I control, to be different. So I hope you all take that with you. And if you can change the way you respond, that's the idea behind the emotion roadmap. What would you want to change to, and how do you get there? How does that happen? Well, I'm about to go off the air, so I want to say goodbye to everybody. I want to thank you all for listening. A couple people were new listeners. If you like the show, again, go to WPKN.org, but let them know, not just if you like my show, but any of the shows you really like. I know we got a great station here and lots of great programmers, so I encourage you to sign in and let people know what you like. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you again in April. Bye-bye.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.